Good morning. Happy Friday. So just an update. Today's my daughter's performance. It's kind of cool because on Monday, she went to mine. So today I'll go to hers. And I won't miss that for the world. I went to it last year. I totally forgot what it was like last year. It's crazy how a year can just pass and then it's like it was like a long time ago. And then sometimes it was like yesterday. But she's in choir, she's gonna sing at the church I used to go to. And now, this will be the second performance that I've made for her clean. And I've had 365 consecutive days of not getting loaded at all. No breaks, no days off in between. And today's, just for today, is about those who want to recover. And it made me really think about the only requirement for membership. There's a tradition in there. There's these steps in these traditions we read. And one of the traditions is the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. If you want to be part of the club, then no matter what club, the only requirement is a desire to stop using. You don't check in with your clean time and say, can I join now? You just want it. But see, there's a difference between wanting it and doing it. And at first, it takes wanting it. And then it takes a small grain of faith. I've wanted to stay clean for a very long time. There was a time I didn't, especially when I was younger. Like, I always thought I was the guy that could handle his drugs. And I could until I couldn't. And then I can't remember the last time I could. And so I know I'll never be able to. I mean, I've had multiple years clean and I went back out. And it was just like it was right when I got clean. That gift of desperation kicked in. Slowly but surely. If that one relapse would have made me feel exactly like I did when I waved the white flag the second time or the first time, well, then I probably would have only had one relapse. But that's not how it works. It's progressive. And then it puts you right back in a place, or worse than a place you were. Except for this time, you've got this like, well, I've had some time under my belt. I didn't die. I used to tell myself, man, if I fucking get loaded again, I'll die. And that's really true. But I didn't, and so but today's just for today is about the desire to want to not use. Every time I got loaded, I prayed and wished I wouldn't do it again. And I would pass the lie detector test if you popped one on me, when I was withdrawing. I've experienced hangovers, withdrawals, all of it. And every single time I said I'd never do it again. And I would have passed that lie detector test. But then some time would pass, or days, or whatever, and something would happen. And the PTSD that I suffered from my own doing would be enough for me to say, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. So the early days are really tough. But so are the later days too. But they're not as tough. The early days are like, man, I can't quite figure out what my clean date's gonna be. So I'll do it when January hits. January 1st, April 16th, fucking March 20th, whatever fucking date I wanted to say ahead of time. That's when it's gonna be. We don't pick that. It picks us, is what I've heard. And it's true for me. Like, my clean dates, and I can say that I have two. I'd like to say I have a whole bunch of them, right? Like, I've heard people say, I've got a bunch of clean dates, but they never stuck. But the ones where I had like a year or 2 years are two. And hopefully that's how it stays. I've got I've got this clean date and it stays the same. And no, I won't tattoo that on me. But no matter what, death, breakups, people not wanting to talk to me, whatever. Never a good enough excuse to go back out. And the simple fact is that if I want to get loaded, it's because I want to get loaded. And then I'll give myself 1,000 reasons to why it's going to be okay. I will rationalize and manipulate the fuck out of myself to tell myself this is going to be okay. But what's helping me out right now, is I do a lot. And that doing a lot can sometimes be stressful. You know? It can be that factor of like, fuck man, I'm doing too much. But there's no such thing as too much if you're doing everything you possibly can. It's not enough. Right? You know, if I go gung-ho with meetings and I make like 3 a day and I work, take care of the kids, and that's all I do, I'll burn myself out. I know that. So I do a lot of other things. So I have things to look forward to. I think it's important that we have things to look forward to. You know, like I have hiking, kayaking, going to the gym. You know, I have all these things. You know, going to church. I like all these things. Now reading poems, if I'm going to do that. All these things to look forward to. So it's not just like, well, I do all the damn things, and I have nothing really, you know. Because at first it's easy, you know, like, okay, so it's hard at first, but at first it's easy to just be like, fuck that. Like, fuck that. I don't want to fucking, that was terrible, man. That fucking, fuck, I don't want to feel like that anymore. And you hold on to that for long enough. So yeah, of course. And then, you know, you're putting some time under your belt, you're making all these things, and then all of a sudden you hit a wall. And we all hit that wall. You know, okay. Most of us hit that wall. There's some people out there that fucking, there's no wall ever. And they get 30 years or whatever. But I've heard about people like 20 years clean fucking going back out. 11 years clean going back out. So what I want to do for me is everything. You know, I want to meet as many people as I can. I want to go on as many places as I can. I want to do things I've never done. I talk about, you know, getting in a cage with the sharks. I'm afraid of those things. I want to do that, you know, like, does that mean I'm going to be a shark wrangler? No. But I have a long list of fears. You know, some people have only one fear. I heard somebody share that one of their fears, their main fear is that, you know, their kids aren't successful, or kid, or whatever. I've heard other people say their fear is going back out. That's one of my biggest fears, is going back out. In fact, that is my biggest fear, is going back out. And see, that's the thing. My biggest fear used to be, what are you thinking? And it's still a fear of mine. Like, it is still a fear of mine. Somebody could give me the wrong look. I could have fucking stomachache. Give me the wrong look, and all of a sudden I'm off to the races, and I get this whole story of why they looked at me like that. Maybe they know, maybe they knew, you know. So I'm working on breaking that and making different fears, because I, you know, like, we live with fears. Like, anybody who says that, like, they have no fears at all, I fear nothing, I give 0 fucks. Okay, all right. That's not me. I'm gonna have fears, and new ones will develop, because they're all basically fake anyways. They're not real. There's some healthy fears, right? But the reason I bring all this up is if we're shooting towards personal development, because that's what this is, right? If we're shooting towards personal development, then we need to a lot of areas of our life develop. If I'm afraid of people, you know, I'm going to say the wrong thing, then I'm going to say a whole bunch of shit to attack that, like I've done, like these videos. If I'm afraid of standing in front of a bunch of people that I don't know and sharing some vulnerability, I'm going to attack that. I'm still afraid of that, but I'm not as afraid as before I tried it. And I've only tried it twice, and I'm not really afraid of it. I went to this party. I'm not going to explain the party, but I was, you know, afraid of that. Won't do that again. But now at least I'm not afraid of it. But it's like new fears. Like I've been so afraid for the last like fucking couple weeks that I'm not going to be able to afford Christmas and be able to pay my bills. And that's going away. And like today a thought came in my head and I'm going to use that. Like that's how he works. You know? And then everything's going to be okay. Sometimes you just got to pray for the answer and then just wait for the, you know, pray for the solution and wait for the answer. That's prayer meditation. But it all starts with that desire to stop using. It all starts with I just don't want to live like this anymore. Okay, what are you willing to do? You know, I used to say, I'll do anything to stop. Really? I know my higher power would never make me do something that's going to harm me. But my disease or the devil, however you want to call it, will. It will say, hey, guess what? This looks like a good opportunity. Nobody will know. You can have a good time. When you wake up in the morning, go back to where you were. And then if I believe that, then like almost 2 years later, I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? I need you, God. And now I know that. Experience creates wisdom. And we don't experience unless we fucking do. So ask yourself, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want this shit? What are you willing to do? And do you want it as bad as breathing? You know, that story of the guru holding the guy under the water until he couldn't breathe anymore and he's batting away, and then he pulls him up and he says, when you want success, when you want that thing as bad as you just wanted air, then you'll want it bad enough. You know, that is so true. That is true. So go out into the world today and do your best at being your best, even if your best isn't as good as yesterday's. Even if your best isn't as good as 6 months ago. Do your best today, every day. Give your 100%. Your 100%. See, there's that, give it 100%, right? But 100% today might not be like 100% yesterday. But if every day you give it your 100%, whatever that may be, and you can look in the mirror at the end of the day, you can look in the mirror, you're coming home from work, and you look in the mirror and you can say, I gave it my fucking 100. You can go home and like before you go to bed, you can look at the reflection of the camera on your phone and say, I gave it my 100, my 100. If you do that every single day, life is going to get better. And your 100 may look like 30% today. And that's okay. But if you give it nothing, in return you get nothing. If you're always giving it your all, you'll get that return. And just remember, you have what it takes. And you are wanted. Somebody's going to watch this video and feel like they are unwanted and they are needed. I need to hear that story. They need to hear that story. You need to tell that story. That story might save somebody's fucking life. And you may feel like it's the worst story ever. And there's a lot of worse stories ever. The second we stop being unique, the better we start being. The more of service we can be. So go out there and do your best today. And then leave tomorrow into tomorrow and leave yesterday into yesterday. Tomorrow is going to help itself out tomorrow. Tomorrow will deal with tomorrow. But today, you have today's control. You don't have tomorrow's control. And yesterday already happened. So today's a gift. That's why they call it the present. So just take it full advantage of it, even if it means the bare minimum. Because you couldn't do the bare minimum yesterday. You got this. Go out and get it.